Outside, one of the Panther greats. Good crowd on hand as we get ready for the kickoff. Let's send it down to the field as it's time now for the Gatorade Heard Around the Core report with Pete Yannity.
Thanks a lot, Mike, and good evening, everybody. And I'll tell you what, seen among the coolers of training camp this past Monday was quite the welcome sight. Steve Smith getting out on the practice field for the first time during the preseason work. Of course, he had the broken arm during the offseason, and as of now, Smith is on schedule to make it back in time for the regular season opener in a few weeks. He's entering his 10th season with this ball club. Obviously, the four-time Pro Bowler has done some amazing things. Here's what he means to this year's wide receiver core. He is one of 11. The other 10 have combined for 48 NFL receptions. Steve Smith has 574 in his career.
Well, no doubt they can't wait to get Steve Smith back in the lineup. The offense has never been the same when Steve Smith is not out there, and certainly one of the things we're going to be keeping a lookout for tonight, Mike Rucker, not only tonight but really the rest of this preseason. What other receiver is going to step up? Because clearly somebody else has to.
Well, I mean, you look at Kenny Moore and Dwayne Jarrett. I mean, these are some of the young guys that have been around for a little bit, and then you got your rookie in LaFell. So the spots are open, and they have good competition down there. It's who wants to seize it and take it over.
There you see John Fox. He's excited about this year's team. Again, 10 new starters. It's a very young team, and he joked with us, if you take away John Casey and his 20 years of service, you're talking about by far the youngest team in the National Football League. But what that does, you've got a lot of hungry guys out there. It's been a great environment in practice all the way going back to the OTAs, Mike. You see that everybody is into it. They're ready for a new attitude, a new identity, I guess you could say, this year for the Carolina Panthers.
And you're right. And this is the greatest opportunity that you're going to have as a young player when you have a lot of these spots open and up for grabs. So these young guys got to realize that they have an opportunity and to seize it.
The Panthers won the toss, elected to receive. That is Mike Goodson back there deep, the second-year man out of Texas A&M. He's a guy they really hope can contribute not only on special teams, but give them kind of a change of pace running back as well. He's flanked to his left by Robert McClain, a defensive back, one of the many drafted players that we'll see tonight. The Panthers had 10 of them, all expected to see some action tonight. Fielded in the end zone, and now he's going to take it out. Goodson is looking for daylight. Not going to find a whole lot as he is shoved out of bounds just shy of the 14-yard line. When you hesitate, generally things aren't very good once you take it out. Let's take a look at Matt Moore. We're going to continue to learn more and more about Matt Moore. He's out of Valencia, California, 26 years of age. Had 3 pit stops in college, but really did most of his damage at Oregon State. The Dallas Cowboys, they tried to sneak him onto the practice squad, but the Panthers were there to gobble him up, and ever since they've been glad that they did, because as you see that bottom number, that's the most important one. His record as a starter, he is 6-2 and really came on late last year. Played almost flawless football the final month of the season. Moore looking to dump it off, does so, and that's going to be a mild loss on the play. Let's look at our Miller Lite starting lineups. First for your Carolina Panthers. Offensively, DeAngelo Williams, 5th-year running back. He's one of the best running backs in all of football, over 1,100 yards last year. He's got a new blocking back in Fiumetta. Jarrett Moore, those are two guys that are going to have to pick up some of the slack when Steve Smith is not out there, which he will not be out there tonight. One of the top offensive lines in football. Khalil, a Pro Bowler. Gross, a former Pro Bowler. They believe Travell Wharton is not far off from Pro Bowl status himself. So the Panthers, much like the Jets, these are two teams that love to run and they love to utilize great physical offensive lines. DeAngelo Williams trying to pick up some physical yards. Not much there. Bart Scott on the tackle. Defensively for the Jets, this is the #1 defense in all of the NFL a year ago. Jenkins, the former Panther, he stuffs things up the middle. Sean Ellis, a Pro Bowler. Harris, Scott, Pace, and Thomas. I don't know if there's a better quartet of linebackers in the NFL. Cromartie, the new addition to that secondary. And, of course, they're waiting on Darrelle Revis as the money continues to be an issue in that holdout. If they get him back, there's no reason to believe this Jets defense shouldn't be anything less than outstanding again. 3rd down and 9 for the Panthers. Moore has time, fires deep, and has it complete at the 40-yard line. That is Kenneth Moore, the 3rd-year receiver out of Wake Forest, the former Butler Bulldog.
Moore hung in there on this pass, and that's something that we talked about, is the sustaining drives and being good on third down. And this is a great catch by the other Moore. And this is what these two young receiver and quarterback need to do to move the chains. And this is a great throw and a great catch.
A gain of 26 yards on the play. You know, there's been so much talk about the new guys and Dwayne Jarrett. Everybody seems to forget about Kenneth Moore, but he's one of the better route runners on the team. D'Angelo Williams ahead of steam there. David Harris will bring him down. D'Angelo Williams, not just shifty, he's pretty strong for a guy his size.
He's very strong, and you can just see that he dragged guys 2-3 yards after contact. That's when you know you have a stout running back, when you can get what we call, yaks. It's yards after the run, but it's usually a catch. He gets a big run after this play.
Rips off 7 yards there. 20 touchdowns in his first 2 years for D'Angelo Williams. A career average of over 5 yards a carry. 2nd down and 3. Panthers working out of the eye, which they often do. This is a 2-back team. Moore in the pocket, lobbing deep down the sideline, and intercepted by Leonard. Leonard, the safety, waiting on that ball to come down, intended for Brandon LaFell. And we have our first turnover of the night.
That's tough when you have a great pass and a great run. You just did a little play action. You try to go deep. Sometimes you got to take your shot when you're in the middle of the field. Unfortunately, the safety came over and picked this one off. If you're going to throw the ball, you back this team up. You don't want that interception, but the defense comes on the field, and hopefully they can keep them pinned down here.
So the Panthers going for the home run ball, and Matt Moore might want to have that one back. Looked like he overshot him a bit. That'll give the Jets the football, and the Jets offense is similar to the Panthers in that they run a heck of a lot better than they throw. Mark Sanchez was inconsistent at times as they'll try the left side and gobble up a few yards there. That is Sean Green. Boy, what a great rookie season he had. The young man out of Iowa, bruising back. He's got a good blocker in front of him. When you talk about Richardson, Edwards, and Cotchery, 2 consistent wide receivers, this is their strength. Their offensive line, Pro Bowlers all over the place. DeBrickashaw Ferguson is the anchor at left tackle, and of course the quarterback in his 2nd year, Mark Sanchez, the 2nd rookie quarterback ever to win 2 playoff games. 2nd down, call it 5. Sanchez under hot pursuit, and he is sacked. 91, that is Everett Brown, the 2nd-year man out of Florida State.
When you talk about sacks, they had 6 last week on the defensive front. You got Everett Brown, who comes in and gets the pass rush. This is what is going to be the strength of this team, is getting the pass rush. And Everett Brown did a great job of burning the corner and getting that sack.
A 7-yard loss on the play. Brown, a little bit undersized for a defensive end at 6'1", 250, but he makes up for it with that speed and leverage. 3rd down and 13. Panthers only rush 3. The Jets to the ground. It's Tomlinson. He's got some room past the 20 and over to the 25-yard line. Finally brought down by Richard Marshall. And there is the big pickup, LaDainian Tomlinson.
Well, the Panthers went to a 3-down lineman thinking it was going to be pass, and sometimes they'll check to a run, and that's what happened. And you have to just rally the troops, and unfortunately they allowed the 1st down, and after a great sack by Everett Brown, now they got to go back and try to get off the field again.
20 yards on that attempt. 10th-year man out of TCU. Back to the ground, it's Sean Green. Nothing doing on the left side. Good pursuit there by Derek Landry. Let's take a look at the defense for your Carolina Panthers. Again, 3 new starters this year on that defensive line. Charles Johnson, the coaches keep raving that he's a different player this season. The linebacking core, well, John Beeson, another Pro Bowl, a tackling machine. He's playing outside now. Connor is playing the middle as Thomas Davis coming off another knee injury. Secondary pretty darn good when you talk about Gamble and Marshall. They can be very stingy, giving up big pass plays. The Panthers defense against the pass, one of the tops in the NFL last season. On 2nd and long, a rare pass to Sean Green, and he staggers forward for really no gain. Dan Connor was there to swallow him up. Sean Green is a guy that rarely catches the football.
And he caught the ball, a little screen catch the Panthers off guard. Great play by the linebacker and Dan Connor, and staying home, staying with his guy, and not allowing the big play.
So now another 3rd and long, this time 3rd down and 10.
This is where the Panthers have to be good, on 3rd down and getting off the field.
3 receivers set for Sanchez. Panthers bringing the blitz. Sanchez over the middle, almost intercepted. In and out of the hands of Chris Gamble. He picked off 4 of them last year, and he jumped the route covering Braylon Edwards. He almost had a pick.
Yeah, the D-line had pressure up in Sanchez's face and pushed him and made him forced to throw that pick almost. Gamble, he's missed a little practice, but he looked real good in game shape right there. He wished he could have that back and squeeze that ball a little bit more. That could have been 6 the other way.
That's in the breadbasket, Mike Rucker.
You got to catch those. I know he's kicking himself.
Armani Edwards, the rookie out of Appalachian State, back to receive the punt. Weatherford is the punter for the Jets. Gets off a good one. Armani gonna let it bounce at the 35. Look out, that could be a live ball. Might have hit the leg of a Panther. And it did, and it's gonna be Jet football. Armani Edwards has got to go up and catch that ball, does he not?
Well, I think when he looks on tape tomorrow, he's going to see the whole right side of the field was wide open for him if he could have grabbed that. And if he doesn't grab it, he's got to let everybody know, get away from the ball.
The receiving team, and then recovered by the kicking team. 1st down, Jets.
I believe that was Lance Laurie, the former South Carolina Gamecock, on the recovery. So 2 turnovers in this game against the Panthers. Jet football when we return from Charlotte. Mike Rucker, as we take another look at this play, a mistake by Armani Edwards.
Yes, this is solely on him. The guys got their backs turned to him. If he's not going to catch it, he's got to be yelling at the top of his lungs, get away from the ball. And one of the best punt returners in the game when he was doing it, Steve Smith talking to him. Like, listen, you see Steve moving his hands. Hey, you got to get away from the ball, help your guys out, because they can't see what you're going to do. They have their backs turned to you.
Edwards is a young man they spent a 3rd round draft pick on. There's going to be a challenge on this play. So we'll take a timeout here. Back after a word from your local Panthers station. But not a whole lot to lose if you lose a timeout in the first half of a game like this. But again, a simple situation where Armani Edwards either grab the ball or make sure you know make everybody else know that's not coming. Jordan Pugh is who the ball went off of from our angle, and the rookie out of Texas A&M. So this is likely going to stay with the Jets.
And this is what preseasons are for, you know, to be able to coach a young guy like that and to be able to show him tomorrow what he did wrong, what he can do better.
After review, the ruling of the field on the field is confirmed. It was touched and recovered by New York. 1st down. Carolina is charged with their 1st team timeout.
So no surprise there. It's a 2nd turnover for the Panthers. Tonight, our Belk Player Watch focuses on John Beeson, the ultra-talented linebacker out of the University of Miami. Every year, he seems to be right there near the top of the NFL in total tackles. That was the case again last year. Tomlinson dots the I for the Jets behind the big bruising fullback Tony Richardson. Panthers 4-man front. Tomlinson lowering the shoulder and staggering forward, a gain of 5. Dan Connor absorbing the blow. Here's a guy, Mike, and Dan Connor, that's really going to have to step up his play. He's a starter now. He's going to be the man in the middle.
Had a great college career. He's getting the call now at the middle linebacker. You know, that's just a simple draw. That's a react play. You don't play that. You react to a draw, and it starts up front with the D-line, and then the linebacker's got to rally to the call.
He set a school record with 419 career tackles. If that doesn't impress you enough, he set it at Penn State. This just in, a lot of good linebackers go through Happy Valley, and he's got more tackles than any of them. On 2nd and 5, Sanchez rolling, deflected pass, Beeson diving. Did he pick it off? Waiting for the call. They're converging on it, and they'll say incomplete.
John Beeson. There's been a lot of talk with him moving position, and he's out in space, but that looked like a lot of speed to me, and he almost made that interception. You got to tip your hat off to him and that speed and willing to move different positions and say, you know what, I can play any position. I don't want to be on the field.
3rd down and 5. Sanchez has time, delivers, caught, and that'll be a 1st down. Jericho Cotchery, he has led this Jets team in receiving the last 3 years. He doesn't always grab the headlines, and now they've got Santonio Holmes, but he's awfully good.
The Jets are deep in their receiving core with experience. Just a little simple slant. It's a tough play to play when it's 3rd and 5. Just try to get the ball, get your hands up as a defensive line, and try to plug it out as a corner.
He's got some ties to the state of North Carolina, 7th year out of NC State. 7 yards on the pickup for the 1st down. Jets on the move as the drive continues. Sanchez in hot pursuit, and he is lassoed down. Everett Brown again.
I tell you what, these guys are hungry. The defensive front has been a question mark this year, and they're showing everybody that they are here to play. We don't care if we're young. We don't care if we got 3 new starters. We're going to rush this quarterback, and this is the 2nd sack by Everett Brown.
7 yards on the loss, and Everett Brown already with 2 sacks. Last year he had 2 sacks, 2.5 to be exact, 25 tackles. He led the ACC in sacks his final year at Florida State. 2nd and 17. A screenplay and slips right through the hands of Tomlinson.
I tell you what, when as a defense, when you start to see screens, that means you're getting the pass rush. So what they're trying to do, the Jets are trying to slow down the Panthers' pass rush by getting them upfield and throwing the slip screen. They played it well right there, and everybody's staying home.
Mike, I have to say, so far the Panthers doing a good job getting pressure in the backfield.
I like it. I mean, you have an interception, they responded. They have special teams there. The defense so far has responded in 3rd and long. Here's where you lick your chops as a defensive line. Get after the quarterback.
We'll see if they pin the ears back. 3rd down and long. Sanchez to Tomlinson at the 25. That's not going to do it. He gets a full escort out of bounds, and the Jets will have to settle for a field goal attempt. Captain Marlin was there to meet him after the grab. 5 yards on the pickup.
And he's probably outweighed right there, but you can't outweigh your heart and saying, you know what, you're not going to get an inch on me. I'm going to drive you to the sideline.
The kicker for the Jets is Nick Folk, the former Dallas Cowboy. He was waived for his inconsistency there. Well, he's the only guy on the roster, so they're going to go with him. This is from 43 yards. Placement is good, and the kick is good as well. So the Jets strike first off the turnover on special teams by the Panthers. 5:34 remaining in the 1st quarter. 3-0 our score. Jets getting off to the early 3-0 lead here in the 1st quarter. The Panthers with 2 early turnovers. They look at our Belk scoring drive, culminated by the field goal from Folk. 7 plays, just 10 yards, 2 minutes and 51 seconds off the clock. And of course the points coming off the turnover. I think overall, Mike, you look at that drive and you say A+ to the defense.
Yeah, they just had 1 big play in there, but for the most part, they were all in the backfield of the Jets, causing all kinds of problems. That's what you want to see early on in a ball game. How do you respond after these turnovers and adversity? And they've done well so far.
Again, Goodson back to receive the kickoff. And this time, he'll think better of it. He'll take a knee, and the Panthers will have it 1st and 10 from their 20-yard line. Back after a word from your local Panthers station. For speed, Carolina Panthers rookie Armani Edwards becomes the first player in FCS history to win 2 Walter Payton Awards, the Heisman of the FCS division. He accounted for 98 touchdowns and over 14,000 yards of total offense while leading Appalachian State to back-to-back national championships. Built for speed, presented by Toshiba. And there is Armani Edwards. He's going to have a chance to make some more plays later on in this game. They drafted him as a return man and a wide receiver, still learning that position as the Panthers go to the ground on first down. It's D'Angelo Williams cutting back, plowing over one defender, and chewing up 7 yards on the play. Let's send it down to the field. Pete Yannity standing by.
Mike, one of the more interesting stories on the offense in terms of the battle for a starting job, Mackenzie Bernardo is in a three-way battle to get the starting nod at right guard. He got plenty of action last year.
All right, we're having little problems with Pete. We'll get back to him momentarily. Bernardo is the one non-returning starter on that offensive line, and a guy that's in a dogfight. Try to get that right guard spot as Matt Moore is devoured. They don't give you much time. Another blitz by the Jets. Jim Leonard, who already has an interception, picks up the sack there.
Well, the Jets blitzed a lot last week, and the Panthers knew that they were coming. Free safety just comes free. You know, that's a blocking error up front. I mean, you have your tight end and everybody on that side. Somebody's got to pick up that blitzer because your quarterback won't last long in this league if you let guys get free shots on him like that. It makes it real tough. That's a simple thing that could be worked out tomorrow in films. Hey, guys got to slide down and make that blitzer come as far from the outside as possible.
9-yard loss. No one in football blitzes more than the Jets. They send it here as well. Moore fires, and it's jarred loose at the 30. In and out of the hands of Brandon LaFell as he is popped by Dwight Lowry.
That was good defense by the Jets. You know, they were in a little soft zone, and the guy with the corner was just waiting for him. LaFell, you're going to take big hits, buddy, in this league. Sometimes you got to, once you touch that ball, you got to squeeze it hard.
Baker, 10th year out of Iowa. On the punt. Leonard is back to receive. High spiraling kick fielded at the 26. And Leonard is popped and dropped at the 35-yard line. 55-yard punt. 3-0 ball game here from Charlotte.
You know, Sam Mills, he was a great football player here, and just as a football player, he was a great coach. I was able to be here when he was coaching here, and I tell you what, he had a lot of knowledge, and he was just a great person and a great coach too.
Jets taking over on offense, first down and 10 from the 36. Again to the ground game, and not much doing there as Sean Green is bottled up near the line. Charles Johnson was in on the stop. This is a guy, Mike, when you and I talked to Brian Baker, the defensive line coach, he said the biggest change in a positive direction came from Charles Johnson in this offseason and going into this regular season.
Well, coming out of college, a lot of people said that he was a little lazy in this, but he's put all those notions to rest, and he's come out, he's worked hard, he's gotten stronger and bigger, and he's starting to produce and be a leader on this defensive line.
He's dropped 20 pounds. It's a leaner Charles Johnson and a better one as well. Again, Green gobbling up yardage between the tackles. Beeson and Johnson combining on the tackle. Sean Green, the second-year man out of Iowa, led the postseason with 304 yards rushing. So the Jets have a pretty good tandem in the backfield.
This is a great test today. I mean, you have a great defense in the Jets. You have a great offense. And this is a great test for the Panthers to see where they stack up, to play against Pro Bowlers and some great running backs.
And now on 3rd and short. Let's see who wins the battle of the trenches here. Well, the Jets win it just enough. Green diving forward for a yard. Dan Connor on the stop, a pickup of 3.
When you talk about football, it's battles of collision. Look at John Beeson and taking that fullback on and getting him out of the way. At least it allows his linebacker to run free to make the tackle. Even though they got the first down, John Beeson loves contact.
You mentioned this was a great test. The Jets last year #1 in defense, and they were #1 in rushing the football as well. So they're going to test your heart, your desire on the line of scrimmage, both sides.
Absolutely.
Sanchez has all day, launches the deep ball and overshoots his intended target. That's Braylon Edwards, 6th-year man out of Michigan. He's mainly a deep threat now. They don't trust his hands too much in the short game. Jordan Pugh, 6th-round draft pick out of Texas A&M, was there on the coverage.
Like we said earlier, the Jets have a lot of receivers, so the secondary of the Panthers are going to get a look at some great receivers, some guys that have been around, and they've been playing them well so far.
Second down and 10. Jets go 3 wide. And again to the ground. This time Tomlinson. Modest gain on the play, maybe a couple. James Anderson, 5th-year man out of Virginia Tech, out of the stop.
James Anderson is starting to come into his own. You know, he's a guy that said he's hungry. He's getting his first nod at the starting position. They shed the block, and here comes the rest of the crew. That's what you want on a defense, is game tackling. First person gets there, holds him up, and then everybody comes in and gets a lick on that running back.
47 tackles last year for Anderson. Another test for the defense. It's 3rd down. Call it a short 9. Panthers rush 4. Sanchez looks right, fires, and incomplete. Over the head of Santonio Holmes.
Great pressure up front from the defensive line. You know, they've kept some guys in to try to help protect Sanchez, but they got a little pressure on him and made an incomplete pass. Once again, you're off the field as a defense, making them punt the ball.
Armani Edwards going to get another chance. Weatherford out to punt. Edwards signaling for the fair catch and fumbled it. Still on the ground and recovered by the Jets. Armani Edwards still learning life as a receiver and a return man, and having a rough go of it here in the first quarter. David Clowney recovers the fumble.
Well, he made the right call to call a fair catch. He's got to squeeze it in. He's got to know and believe when he calls a fair catch, get underneath the ball and to squeeze it. There's definitely going to be some growing pains with this guy. He's a great athlete. He's switching positions, and these are things that he has to learn from, but time will tell. He's a guy that they said is still work in progress.
Now there's your story of the game right now. The Panthers already with 3 turnovers. So the Jets, terrific field position. Defense going to be tested, and the defense comes up big on that play. Sean Green is buried in the backfield.
Guess what? Number 52, John Beeson. Once again, he likes to play in the backfield. He just comes in and shoots the gap. You know, when you're a football player, sometimes you take chances, and he did that. And he stopped him. He didn't initially get the tackle, but he slowed the guy up to allow his buddies to come in and make that tackle for a loss.
Beeson with the surge. Landry cleans him up. Derek Landry, 4th-year man out of Notre Dame, number 61, one of the many defensive tackles trying to gain some respect. Last year the Panthers were gashed as soon as Kimoyatu went out for the season. They really had no answer to stop teams from running on him. Nothing doing for LaDainian Tomlinson. Captain Munnerlyn read that play all the way. And that'll be the final play of the quarter.
That was a great play by the corner and that wide receiver screen.
3-yard loss. The Panther defense tested early and often in this one. Panthers trying to overcome 3 turnovers. Second quarter's coming your way. 3-0 our score. The Jets leading the Carolina Panthers by a score of 3-0. We're with you here in Charlotte tonight. We'll be back with you next week when the Panthers take on the Tennessee Titans. And don't forget, for the home opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, still 1,700 tickets remaining. Jump on board, be a part of the crowd. Should be a sellout by the time we reach the season opener. Sanchez looks right, completes it, but well short of the marker. That's the fullback, Tony Richardson. The Jets were 3 of 6 on 3rd down going into that play. Our Bank of America first quarter stats, I could read off 20 different numbers here, but the only one that's really going to matter is that one on the bottom. Obviously, Mike Rucker, that's the story.
Yeah, 3 turnovers. You're fortunate enough to have the score still 3-0. The defense has stepped up and trying to keep points off the board.
Folk on for another attempt. This will be from 36. And he knocks it through. Well, I tell you what, as much as the offense and special teams have put this defense behind the 8 ball, they have responded well. 6-0 our score. Back after a word from your local Panthers station. Well, it's been mostly Jets thus far, 6-0, but that's been largely in part to the 3 turnovers committed by the Panthers. We haven't really had a chance to see much of what this Carolina Panther offense can do thus far. Maybe that'll change on this drive. John Fox going to the Maylocks perhaps a little bit early in this game with those turnovers. 2 of them by Armani Edwards on special teams. Last year the Panthers really never got a flow on offense. And, when we talked to Jeff Davidson and John Fox about that, and they said obviously that's something they'd like to improve on this year so they can have a little momentum going into the regular season. This is Robert McClain, the rookie, on the return across the 30-yard line. Let's take a look at our Belk scoring drive for the New York Jets. Culminated by a 36-yard field goal by Folk. 4 plays, -6 yards. A minute 45. Again, nothing impressive about the drive, other than, of course, they got great field position off the turnover and capitalized with 3 points.
They pushed them backwards. As a defense, you push them backwards, -6 yards. You're holding the 3 points. That's what you want. In sudden change, you want your defense to be able to step up. And yes, you had 3 turnovers, but you only got 6 points on the board. The defense has done a great job in sudden change.
Now let's see if the offense can follow suit. Out of the eye. It's Williams. Dances outside. Lowers the shoulder and plows ahead for a pickup of about 6 right in the chest of Antonio Cromartie. D'Angelo Williams over 1,100 yards last year, and he's in some elite company. Take a look at this. These are the only backs since the merger to average over 5 yards a carry. How about this name? Bo Jackson. Everybody knows Chris Johnson today. Jim Brown, Mercury Morris. I mean, those are some impressive names, Mike Rucker.
Yeah, they are. And what's impressive is the 5 yards a carry. Giving him the ball 2 times and you got a first down. I like that.
I think a lot of people would be stumped on that as a trivia question, that D'Angelo Williams is in that group. He's easy to kind of forget about. Again, this is a 2-back system. Jonathan Stewart not playing tonight, but obviously he's another part of that double trouble. He had over 1,100 yards. It's the first team in NFL history to have 2 backs over 1,100 yards in a season.
And I think that's what makes it so much more impressive is that you got 2 backs, you're sharing carries, and you're still averaging those type of yards. That's impressive.
Williams out of Memphis, his 5th year. The lone back on 3rd down and 2. Quick drop by Moore. Completes the pass. There's LaFell racing down the sideline and out of bounds. Brandon LaFell with his first reception of the night. 15 yards for the rookie out of LSU.
That's a great route by LaFell. Just a little outright. Great throw by Moore because he gets that ball out there quickly. It gives his receiver time to turn his head and get upfield and see what he could work with. There's a breakdown by the Jets. The Panthers capitalize on it. And this is what we're talking about. Getting drives, getting first downs, getting in a rhythm. They're doing that right now. They got to sustain that.
I loved what Matt Moore told me about Brandon LaFell as Williams somehow finds daylight on the left side and picks up 7-8 yards. I mean, there was nothing there but green jerseys up the middle. He bounces it outside and a big pickup on the play.
You know when you have a great back is when there's nothing there and it might be a loss, and then all of a sudden he turns it into a 6-7 yard gain. That's when you know you got a back that is wise and that doesn't stop his feet. Keeps going. Back turning off, spins out, runs, gets a nice run after that.
You can't teach that jitterbug spin, can you?
No, you can't teach that.
D'Angelo he was born with that. Been using it all his life. Here's Moore. Going to try to find Williams on a pass play. And the ball rolls out of bounds. They will call that an incomplete pass, very close to being a fumble. I want to go back to something on Matt Moore, what he said about Brandon LaFell. Talking to him the other day in practice, he said, you know, the thing I like about LaFell, not only is he a big and physical guy, but he's a lot quicker than he looks. He's not a burner. He's not one of these 4.3, 40 guys, but he's quick enough to get open. You don't lead LSU in receiving 3 consecutive years without having some quicks.
Well, you know, receiving is about catching the ball, but it's also about getting in a position to catch the ball. And with those quicks, that allows him to be able to do that.
One thing they need to work on with LaFell, he needs to work on his hands. Moore fires incomplete. Kenneth Moore wants a holding penalty. Looked like he was grabbed by David Harris, the very talented inside linebacker for New York, but no call. And the Panthers will send the punting unit onto the field. And John Fox, he made the call.
Yeah, he's a little upset, and I think he has all the right to be. When you have you know, that opportunity to get that first down, and you have a defensive guy just draped on you like that.
Baker back on. Larry Taylor, wide receiver, out to receive the punt. And that'll sail over his head and into the end zone. So the Panthers unable to pin him inside the 20, a 39-yard punt, but no return on the play. Panthers got something going on offense before the drive fizzles. Still 6-0 New York.
Jets have the 6-0 lead here in the second quarter. Pete Hannity back with you at Bank of America Stadium. Well, so far, as Mike Morgan noted, this Panthers defense looking pretty strong, and the leader is the 4th-year veteran now, John Beeson, coming off a new team record, having broken his old one, had 169 tackles last year. Tonight doing just fine. And for Beeson, a big move this year. He'd been the middle linebacker. Now he's on the outside at the weak side linebacking spot, and he says it means he's got to play a lot smarter than he has in his first 3 seasons in the league.
Thank you so much, Pete Hannity. What about that, Mike Rucker? Obviously, you played defensive line. You know what it's like also for those linebackers. How big a move is this?
Well, it's a big move, and it's not. It's a move because he's going out of the middle, and there's going to be some things that are different. The one biggest difference for him is that he's on the weak side, so he's going to have to be a little bit slower, waiting for the cutbacks to come by. He can't be as fast to overrun the play. That would be the biggest thing that he'll have to deal with. But other than that, he's still playing football.
New quarterback in the game is the lefty Mark Brunell. Throws it up for grabs and incomplete. And as it splits the safeties, Brunell in his 18th year out of Washington. Tank Tyler got right in his face.
And this is what you need from a defensive line. And Big Tank Tyler getting back there. Almost got the sack, but the pressure sometimes is better than a sack because that ball was lofted in the air and could have been intercepted. That is sometimes better than a sack.
Tank Tyler's a guy that they brought in last year after the chemo injury, and he promptly got hurt and was out for the year in the second week against Atlanta, so he's happy to be healthy. Greg Hardy on the stop of Danny Woodhead, and Greg Hardy put on a show against Baltimore. He had 2 sacks. He was in the backfield all night. This is a very interesting young man. He was a 6th-round draft pick out of Ole Miss, pick number 175. But everybody will tell you that really had nothing to do with his ability. He had some injuries, and a lot of people question the attitude. But if he can get that straight, this could be the steal of the draft.
The organization really likes what they see so far in the 6th rounder, and he could be the steal out of the 6th round. I mean, his capability and his tools and what he has shown so far is something that they really like, and he could turn into a big ball player for this club.
I mean, for those that think that's hyperbole, Hardy led the SEC in sacks 2 years ago. There were people talking about him being a 1st-round draft pick. To get him in the 6th round, I mean, that's almost unheard of. We've got the red flag on the field. So our second challenge of the night. We'll take a timeout, let everybody sort things out. Back with more from Charlotte. Back after first half, Jets on top 6-0. If you're wondering what that challenge was about, this is actually Rex Ryan challenging the fact that the Panthers had 12 men on the field. Big Lewis Leonard was the last guy to get off And when you're 6'4", 325, it's hard to sprint off the field, Mike Rucker, and it's definitely hard to hide from the officials.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to miss you. This is what coach is going to call a ME, a mental error. You can make mistakes on the field running hard and maybe missing a tackle, but these are mental errors that you shouldn't have. Knowing what package that you're in and being able to be in or be out when you're supposed to. And you see the big fella trying to get out. He's hustling, but he's not even close. He didn't even get past the numbers, and it looks like the Jets might get this one, and it's not going to be hard. He understands that he was wrong on that play.
Lewis Leonard, acquired from Cleveland last summer after the chemo injury, and again they've tried a number of different guys at the defensive tackle spot. One of the many guys that is gone from last year is Damian Lewis. So you've got guys like Leonard, Ed Johnson, Tank Tyler, Nick Hayden, Corey Irvin, Derek Landry. They're all trying to prove that they belong.
And they like the big bodies. You know, actually Leonard was doing well before he was hurt last year in 09, and that rash of injuries that the D-line took, especially inside. They really like the big body, and they just want him to come along, find his own, and to really just take over and say, I have an opportunity. Let me seize this. He shows up sometimes, and then sometimes he might get lost in the shuffle in the D-line. They want him to be out front all the time.
And he was a guy that was cut down in week 2 and did not see him the rest of the way, so he'll be happy to try and stay healthy, play a full 16-game season this year for the Panthers. Again, 3 new starters on that defensive line. Gone, of course, is the headliner in Julius Peppers.
After review, there were 12 men on the field for the defense at the snap. That is a 5-yard penalty. The ball will be placed at the 21-yard line. It'll be 3rd down. Please put 10:35 on the game clock. New York will not be charged with a timeout.
That is our referee, Cleet Blackman. So a successful challenge. Sometimes those take a little bit longer to resolve than you would like, but bottom line is more times than not they do get it right. And I think the few cynics that there were with instant replay before, I think most of them are gone. I think we've just all accepted it as part of the game.
And it has its purpose. And usually if you're on the good end of it, you like it. If you're not, you don't like it.
The only time it really becomes frustrating is when they miss the call, and clearly you can tell they missed the call on replay, and they don't reverse the call. That's when people really start to question instant replay.
Well, you got to tip your hats off to the referees, though, because there's a lot of places that they need to have their eyes and a lot of action. And they're human. You know, they'll tell you sometimes they'll miss something, and you know that's where instant replay comes in. It's not a bad thing all the time.
Speaking of the officiating crew, Garth DeFelice is the umpire. You see him. He is now. This is the new alignment in the NFL. The umpire is behind the line of scrimmage. And that might have cost Jordan Gross a couple of holding penalties last week. Brunell fires, almost picked off by Captain Munnerlyn. He juggled it, and if he caught it, it's a pick 6. Pass intended for Santonio Holmes. The Jets will have to punt it away.
You know, a lot of times in the NFL, when a team goes empty back set, when it's just a quarterback back, they'll blitz. And that's what the Panthers did. They blitzed, said, hey, you're going to get this ball out really fast. And Captain Munnerlyn did a great job getting his hands up, almost got the pick. And now he's doing his return duty. So they did make a shift there and put him back there. We'll see what he can do with the ball now.
Munnerlyn was a 7th-round draft pick out of South Carolina last year. A lot of people thought he didn't have much of a chance to make the team. He won it in the preseason with his returning and his coverage. And he'll be back in the Panthers secondary this year. 6-0 our score from Charlotte. Well, the good so far tonight, the defense, they have been put in a precarious spot time after time, and they've held the Jets to 2 field goals. The bad, well, the offense has sputtered a bit, and of course the ugly, the turnovers. 3 of them for the Panthers thus far, and now a penalty thrown, and that was thrown from that umpire behind the line of scrimmage. Cummings on the tackle for the Jets.
Holding, offense, number 47. It's a 10-yard penalty. Replay, 2nd down.
At 47, that is Jeff King, the tight end. 5th year out of Virginia Tech. He caught 25 balls a year ago. They've got a 3-headed monster at tight end. You've got King, you've got Rosario, and you've got Gary Barnidge out of Louisville. So you're going to see all 3 of those guys. They've got pretty good depth at the tight end position.
And they all produce. You know, when their numbers called in the passing game, they catch the ball, but they're here to block in this running game. They're part of this run game that's been successful in the past.
2nd down and 21. Moore completes it short at the 30. There's the other tight end, Rosario. Let's send it down to the field. Pete Yannity standing by.
Well, Mike, you were just mentioning the 7th rounders. One of them picked a couple of years ago was Mackenzie Bernardo. He's one of the players battling for the starting job at right guard. He started 7 games last year, and he not only was a 7th round pick, but he comes out of Bentley University. Chances are the average fan hasn't heard too much about it. He's the first ever draft pick out of that Division II school near Boston, and based on extensive research at this moment, I think he's their most notable alum, at least if you look at their media guide.
I would buy that. I would buy that. Even without the extensive research, I probably would have bought that, as Moore is devoured. Big time sack by Jamal Westerman. Matt Moore never had a chance on this play.
Nice job, Dick. You know, the Jets, we know that they like to blitz, and they bring the blitz. You know, Matt can stay in the pocket, but it's hard when guys come scot-free. So you got to get some momentum, and it's been tough to get this offense started and jump-started, and it's tough when you can't pick up the blitz like that.
What's really difficult about that play, Mike, is looking at the replay. Panthers were in max protect, still couldn't block them.
And they kind of knew. Last week, the Jets blitzed quite a bit, and so the Panthers got the max protection in there. When you put it, and that's called, you got to be able to protect your quarterback.
A little bit of sloppiness now as penalty flags flying all over the place. Panthers just trying to punt it away.
False start. Offense, number 42. It's a 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
That's Tony Fiametta, the new starting fullback. It's a little weird not seeing Brad Hoover out there. Hoover, who meant so much to this team. But he is gone. It's going to be Tony Fiametta for the rest of the way. 2nd-year man out of Syracuse. Larry Taylor back to receive the punt if it ever comes. As another penalty flag falls to the field, and we're getting to know Cleet Blackman
False
very
start.
well.
Offense, number 88. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
And I tell you what, this will drive a coach crazy. These, again, would go under the ME mental error category. It has nothing to do with physical play. It's just staying concentrated on what you're supposed to do.
You know, people talk about the relevance of preseason games. Could you imagine how sloppy the first few weeks of the regular season would be without these games?
Absolutely.
I mean, folks, you need them. Punt will bounce and be picked up at the 45 and out of bounds at the 50, but we have yet another flag. And yet a flag after that flag. Cleet Blackman. We've gotten to know him well here in the last few minutes. And we're going to get to know him even better after he gives an explanation on what just happened. It looks like 2 separate infractions. The first one on the punt, and the other one happened post-possession.
That's 4 flags in a pretty quick time frame.
Too many. You know, last week for the Panthers, things got sloppy. 7 sacks allowed, a number of holding penalties, some turnovers there. You always want to try to clean it up the following week. So far, that's not been the case.
There are 2 fouls against the receiving team. Illegal hands to the face, number 93. That penalty's declined. Dead ball, personal foul, late hit out of bounds, number 93 of the receiving team. That dead ball penalty we added to the end of the run, 15 yards, 1st down.
All right, Don Beeson, a 2-time Pro Bowler. Let's find out about his new position.
We have to be a little more disciplined. And even though I think the mic is obviously, it demands a lot on a player, I have the ability to go both ways versus at the will position. Sometimes I have to be patient, sit back in case the ball bounces outside or I have to leave the box and cover down receivers. So, you know, there's an adjustment to where I have to just, you know, do what exactly as I'm told.
And he's hit the nail on the head. You know, there will be small adjustments when a receiver does adjust out. He's going to have to leave the box. Well, normally that Mike is staying in there with his fellow D lineman and handling the box and the tackling there. So there will be some fine adjustments, but he's played this position before. He's confident because at the end of the day, it's about X's and O's and tackling the guy with the ball, and he does that well.
And the fact of the matter is, even with him playing the outside, they're talking about him still calling many of the plays. So he's still the leader, whether he's playing the middle or outside, and he's in on another stop right there.
That's 5-2 for you. He's always going to work. He's going to go whistle to whistle. Right here, you see the eyes and the intensity. He's going to shed the fullback and then get in on the tackle. So he's doing his job and somebody else in tackling. I think he's made that move pretty good so far.
You know, that block that he shed was by John Connor, a rookie out of Kentucky. They drafted him because he's a great blocker. 5'11", 245. Beeson went around him like he wasn't even there. Went around him and threw him at the same time. There's Connor reading that play all the way. This has been another impressive drive for the Panthers defense.
Great play by the middle linebacker in Connor. You know, a little swing pass. He used his speed to get to the flats and just made a nice tackle for a loss.
A loss of 2 on the play. 3rd down and 11.
You can see the speed of this defense and the speed of these linebackers as they're playing.
There's Beeson. He'll go back in coverage. Brunell finds a receiver at the 40, but that's well shy of the first down. That ball was down. Danny Woodhead was down, so no turnover on the play. But on the stop, Richard Marshall. And the Panthers defense comes up big again. I think, without question, the positive of this first half for Carolina has been the defense.
Absolutely. You know, they get a penalty that pushes them back, but this defense has answered call of the bell every single time, and they're getting pressure on the quarterback. The linebackers are playing well, coming up, making tackles in the flats. In the secondary, they've made plays on the ball time and time again.
Captain Munnerlyn back for another punt return. Panthers could use a big play here on special teams. Haven't had any good field position yet. And not going to get it here as Munnerlyn bobbles it and is fortunate to keep control. Back down to the field and Pete Yannity.
Well, Mike, coming up at halftime, we'll check out what else is happening on this Saturday night in the NFL preseason. And we get to know the new man behind center for the Panthers. Away from football, he has another passion. It's similar to what many of us have. We go out to the golf course with Matt Moore and get his thoughts about becoming the guy who now has to make the Panthers offense go. That's coming up when we see you at the half.
Okay, Pete, looking forward to that. Matt Moore was a great athlete in college, had a chance to play baseball. He was drafted as a baseball player, but chose to stay with football. And the Panthers are glad that he did.
Yeah, and here's a great opportunity to put a drive together.
It's not going to start that way.
Yeah, and, you know, you got less than 5 minutes to halftime. You'd like to go into halftime with a little bit of energy. Yes, it's incomplete. You got a couple more downs. Try to get something going. Try to get some momentum going so you can go into the halftime at least with some positive energy.
Rosario with the drop. So a 2nd and 10 as the Panthers offense trying to mount a drive here. That's Jarrett, the motion man. Haven't called his name yet tonight. And this pass incomplete, intended for the tight end, Jeff King. Offense last year for the Carolina Panthers. Well, look, the rushing yards, that's the number that clearly sticks out. 3rd best in the National Football League. You got to remember, 3rd best with a passing game that was ineffective for a good portion of the year. Got off to the awful start. Jake Delhomme really had a rough time with turnovers, and yet they were still able to move the football quite a bit, particularly toward the end. And that final stretch, the final 10 games, the Panthers really started to get into a rhythm, and Matt Moore just did not turn the ball over, and that kept a lot of drives alive. And this time the ball is thrown to a prone Tyrell Sutton. That's a trouble spot. And the offense going to have to punt it away.
Yeah, if he would have been able to catch his feet, they might have had some yards in front of him. He might have been able to do something. Once again, you know, you go 3 and out, you need the energy. You know, your defense is playing well. Your special team is sputtering a little bit. Your offense is sputtering a little bit. You got to find a spark somewhere. You find that spark and things could turn around real quick.
Baker's been a busy man. It's a beautiful punt. Wow, all the way back to the 27. And down to the 38-yard line is Larry Taylor. 4.6 on the hang time and a 61-yard boot. 7 on the return.
I'll take that. I'll take that. That'll help you out. I know the defense likes that too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's another area overall. You feel good about Baker and Casey, obviously, but special teams, John Fox was very adamant in our meetings during the week how poor they were most of the season last year. And here are some of the numbers. Now, the gross punt average, that was great. The punt return average allowed, fine. Kick return average allowed, best in team history. But it's the other side of that ledger, making plays in the return game. And that's something that he talked about can be a lot better this season. They've addressed it in the off season. They've drafted some guys they believe can be good special teamers, picked up some guys that can be good special teamers. And for a team that offensively nobody expects to be incredibly explosive, Mike Rucker, special teams obviously are going to be huge.
Absolutely. That's one of the 3 phases in the game. And when you look on the roster, whether it's the cornerbacks or the safeties or the receivers, a lot of them have had some type of return work in college. You can see that the Panthers are putting an emphasis on the return game to get that up to par and to be able to be a big part of this football team.
The fact that they spent a 3rd-round draft pick on Edwards, or Monty Edwards, a guy that hasn't played wide receiver since his junior year in high school, that's how much they want to get better at returning punts and kicks this season.
And he has the ability. There's no doubt about it. He has the athletic ability. It's how quick can he get the rhythm of the game and the nuances of the game before he can really take off. But he has the ability.
And look, there's a lot of pressure on Armani Edwards. He's from nearby Boone, North Carolina. Played his college ball at Boone, North Carolina, at Appalachian State, and attended Greenwood High School in South Carolina. Did a terrific prep career and put up just astronomical numbers at the 1AA level. So there's a lot of people in the stadium tonight that he's trying to impress as well. Brunell somehow throws that ball on target. Danny Woodhead cannot hold on to it, and the Jets will punt it away.
If you look at this replay, it's Landry coming around the edge, around the corner, almost got the sack and forced the quarterback up in the pocket. And once again, Charles Johnson in his face that did not allow him to make that bullet catch. And then you got an incomplete. So that was a great play by 2 defensive linemen. Again, we're talking about the defensive line again and getting pressure or getting sacks. They've done well today.
Munnerlyn is back to receive. Another Jets punt. And all things being equal, the Panthers are in good shape, being down only 6 points. Things can only get better in the second half, maybe the end of this half. Munnerlyn fields it at the 15. Trying to find some room outside, and he's tripped up at the 25. 10-yard return. John Fox talks about the new names on this Carolina Panthers roster.
There definitely weren't as many familiar faces. I mean, Brad Hoover, Musa Muhammad, Jake. There's a lot of different guys, and change is part of this league. So we do have more youth. I think we have talent, not just molded into a football team.
Coach Fox talked about there's a lot of new faces, and when we see these names, and you might have to put some name tags on helmets, but this is going to get a lot of guys opportunity to find places on this football team of where they can contribute to.
37% of the Panthers roster is brand new. That's a lot of turnover.
That's a lot.
10 new starters as Moore dances in the pocket, delivers a strike to Moore, but it is jarred loose and incomplete.
When you talk about a lot of a turnover, people have to understand it's a young organization and we haven't had that big turnover before, and so it's somewhat of a surprise, but every team has to do it at some point in time. and it's how well you do it. And I think that they've done a great job through the draft, and you see a lot of the draftees over the years on the field and producing.
And that's really the difference between these games that we're bringing to you this year as opposed to last year. Last year, this team returned 21 of 22 starters. There weren't a whole lot of position battles. This year, a lot of the guys you're going to be seeing not only in the first half, but stick around for the second, because so many of those guys are going to be fighting not just for roster spots. Some of them might be fighting to be a starter. Tyrell Sutton brought down by Vernon Golston.
Yeah, the offensive line, you got to create a new line of scrimmage. And what I mean by that is where the ball starts, you got to push that defensive line the other way. And that creates a new line of scrimmage, and that'll give your running back the opportunity to get upfield. Again, you're in 3rd and long. You're almost approaching 2-minute mark. This is an opportunity to try to move the sticks.
Here comes the blitz. Home run ball deep down the field and incomplete. Kenneth Moore was under it. He was draped by Marquise Cole.
You know what? You can live with that. You can live with that. That was a great throw. The quarterback stood in the pocket. Kenny Moore stood in there with the guy draped on him. He's got 3 guys around him, kept his eyes on the ball. He got his hands on it. The defensive guy had his hand in there, made a great play. But that's not a bad time to try that for the long ball.
I think I'm like a lot of the fans here. I just like to see him go for it. You know, I had nothing worse than watching 3rd down and 11 and throwing a 1-yard screen pass.
Right. Even though he didn't catch it, I mean, there's still excitement that it was a long ball and you gave it a shot.
Another punt return for the Jets. And that is 15, Larry Taylor. And a penalty flag on the field is going to bring this one back. It was a 58-yard punt. It was a 12-yard return, but that's going to fall by the wayside. Under 2 minutes to go in the first half.
There is no foul on the play. This is the 2-minute warning.
Wow. Back after a word. And there is double trouble on the bench. D'Angelo Williams, we saw him earlier. Jonathan Stewart out for this game. The numbers last year, eye-popping. There's not a whole lot of things that haven't been done in the history of the National Football League, but each one of those guys with over 1,100 yards, that had never been done. You could barely separate them numbers-wise, and really, Mike Rucker, it's hard to separate them in terms of style. Sometimes we hear the term change of pace back, a guy that's a lot different than the #1 guy, but both these guys can beat you in similar ways.
They both do the same thing, and the great thing about it is that they're having their numbers up there. They love being partners in crime, and they're staying healthy for the most part. I mean, they're, as far as healthy and football-wise, as far as tread on your tires, they're not having to take every down. They're able to split it and keep the numbers up there.
Under 2 minutes to go in the first half. The Jets trying to tack on to a 6-point lead. Panthers defense has been salty tonight as the pass goes incomplete off the lefty Mark Brunell's arm. Larry Taylor, the intended target. Jordan Pugh on the coverage. Jordan Pugh is a guy that John Fox really likes. He's a rookie out of Texas A&M. He was a tackling machine in the Big 12, and good chance that Pugh's going to make this team.
Again, you know, you're looking at special teams. You're bringing guys in that can play football on the field, but also can play in special teams. Trying to bolster that category.
10 draft picks this year for the Panthers, and a lot of them are going to be making the roster. On 2nd and long, that'll be a loss on the play. Guess who? John Beeson on the tackle.
Do we need to say 5-2 in the action again? All over the field. You know, what I really like is you're seeing his speed from the mid-hash always sideline to sideline. Once again, swing pass to the flat, and he makes the tackle for a loss.
It seems like there's 3 of them out there. Like there's 3 guys wearing number 52 because he is all over the place. 328 tackles his last 2 years, back-to-back Pro Bowls for John Beeson. Jets going conservative on 3rd and long. Woodhead the carry. And that'll mean the Jets will punt it away. The Panthers will have another chance.
Timeout, Carolina. It's your second charge timeout of the half. This is the 30-second timeout.
Not surprisingly, John Fox going to stop the clock. Chance to get a drive going. Well, it has been a kicker's game thus far. 5 punts for each punter. Folk with 2 field goals, the only scoring, so they're getting a workout. I think John Fox and company would like to see that Panthers offense get a better workout. Take a look at some of the receivers that are battling for that number 2 spot. We haven't seen much of Dwayne Jarrett. Brandon LaFell did have a big catch, but there's some other guys fighting for spots, and we got to see this Panther offense sustain some drives, get them going.
I think special teams and the offense, that's something that he's going to talk about at halftime, trying to get a spark there and come out the second half. Coach always says it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So if they can go into the locker room and come back with a spark, that'll be something that they can improve on.
Munnerlyn again at the 19. He's got an alley. 35, stops, puts it back in 5th gear, and finally wrestled down at the 43-yard line. Brad Smith on the stop, a 49-yard punt and a 23-yard nifty return by the captain, Captain Munnerlyn.
Once again, this is what we're talking about, finding that spark in your return game. Very great athlete, plays on defense, can catch the ball, make people miss, stop. He could have went out of bounds. He's like, no, I'm going to take the hit and I'm going to get me extra 2-3 yards. That's what you want, that tenacity in your football team, in your football players.
There are not a lot of 5'8", 185-pound return men in this violent game of the NFL, but Munnerlyn loves that, and he loves when people say that he's too small to play in this league. He's been hearing that his whole life, has not fazed him. Moore, who has played the entire first half, and there is Dwayne Jarrett. There's been a Dwayne Jarrett sighting, a 3-yard reception. Moore now 5 of 14 on the night. Hurry up offense here with the clock ticking now. Under 30 seconds remaining. All day for Moore. Again to Jarrett. Do you burn the timeout here? A 6-yard pickup. 13, 12, 11. 3rd down in the yard. And this might be the final play. Moore to the air for LaFell, and he underthrew him. LaFell was open. That ball was underthrown, and that is how the first half will come to an end. So the offense a little bit shaky in the first half, and the Panthers digging out of that 3-turnover hole. As now the referees are going to check.
Ruling on the field is an incomplete pass. Please put 1 second back on the game clock. It'll be 4th down.
Well, that'll give Matt Moore a chance to show off the arm, throw one in the end zone here.
One thing about it, though, and looking at him in these last couple plays, he's not bouncing around in the pocket. He's staying in there, looking downfield. And that's something that is a plus, because as a young quarterback, you'll sometimes see if it's not there right away, they start getting bouncy and happy and starting to move. He's staying in there looking downfield, so that's a positive.
You know, Matt Moore is the only quarterback on the roster that has actually started an NFL game. It's amazing. Only 8 NFL starts for this Panther quarterbacking crew. That's least in the NFL. Home run ball. It's going to be well short. And it'll bounce dead at the 5, and that is how the first half comes to a close. We've got a lot coming up for you. Pete Yanity is going to keep you entertained at the half. We'll also go over highlights and stats. 6-0
machine in the first half. He's already in regular season form as we take a look at our halftime stats brought to you by Bank of America. Not surprisingly, Mike Rucker, they're all about defense.
And, you know, the punters are doing a good job punting the ball, but when you look at the offensive play of both sides of the ball, a little sluggish. And this is where we want to see improvement in this second half, is to get a little bit of spark on offense and the defense to continue what they're doing and maybe get a punt return or 2 in the special teams game. That's something that we'd like to see in this second half.
Second half about to get underway, and another reminder that we're not too far away from the home opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 1,700 tickets remaining here at Bank of America Stadium. Expect that one to be a sellout, and hopefully plenty of sellouts this year here at Charlotte as the Carolina Panthers get ready for the season. A rough and go first half really for both teams offensively. Obviously you got to come away very pleased with what we saw defensively for the Panthers against the first team of the New York Jets for most of the way. Now we'll see if the offense can follow suit and get something going. The Jets will have the ball first in the second half. Booming kick all the way near the back of the end zone, and it will be first and 10 from the 20 for the Jets, as we'll take a look at who Rex Ryan and company will offer up this time out. We've seen the starter Sanchez and Mark Brunell. They've got Kellen Clemens and Kevin O'Connell battling for that number 3 spot. Of course, for those of you that have been waiting to see more of Jimmy Clausen for the Panthers, he'll be out there in the third quarter as well. It is going to be number 11, Kellen Clemens, 5th-year man out of Oregon, 6'2", 200-pounder. Jets start things off here in the second half on the ground. That's Joe McKnight. He's the rookie out of Southern Cal. It's a guy that had a whole lot of hype coming out of high school. A lot of people thought he was going to be the next Reggie Bush at Southern Cal. Didn't quite live up to that, and he's just trying to make the team now in New York. Speaking of trying to make the team, a lot of guys on this Panther roster that are going to be trying to make the team out on the field right now. Big hole up the middle for McKnight, and that'll move the chains. Ball squirted out there late. We'll see if it was after he was down or not. Panthers are claiming he wasn't down, and the officials concur. It is Carolina Panther football, and finally a turnover on the Jets, and recovering the fumble, Nick Hayden.
This is a run right up the middle where the Panthers were a little weak at, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and you keep stripping that ball, and that ball popped out. This gives the Panther ops, well, I think they're going to challenge it, but this gives you a chance on the offensive side of the ball as far as field position battle to maybe be able to get a short field and maybe do something with it.
Challenge, they'll take another look.
New York
we'll be
is
back.
challenging
We'll find out
on the field of a fumble and a recovery by.
We've had a lot of challenges in this game already. You can't blame Rex Ryan for throwing the flag on this one because the ball definitely comes out late, but based on the angles we were able to show you, and those are the same angles that the replay official will be looking at, I don't know how they're going to overturn this because there's nothing that we saw that would conclusively tell you that McKnight did not fumble this ball. You see he's kind of held up. As long as he's on top of a Panther player, that ball is still live. And, I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, as long as that ball is moving, that thing is going to stay. He's on the back of somebody, but the ball's moving. You can't see it, and so I don't think there's enough to bring it back.
Marcus Hudson would get credit for the forced fumble. And, of course, it was later recovered by Nick Hayden. But when you have all those bodies piling up like that, that's one of the hardest calls to make for any official. And again, just based on what we've seen thus far, I don't see how they would overturn that. Want to remind everybody the announcers for this game are selected and compensated by the Carolina Panthers. This broadcast is a copyright presentation. Any use of this broadcast without the express permission of the National Football League and the Panthers is prohibited.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. It's a first down, Carolina. New York is charged their first timeout, and New York has no more challenges for this half.
So the Panthers finally catch a break. Now it's time for the offense to cash in, and it will be a new quarterback. We will see Jimmy Clausen, the rookie out of Notre Dame. The Panthers got him with the number 48 overall pick in the second round. Just about everybody thought that was a steal. Some people had Clausen going early in the first round. And Clausen playing awfully well in the first preseason game. We'll see what he has in store tonight. Big time hit applied by the Jets defense. on Tyrell Sutton. Let's learn a little bit more about Jimmy Clausen, 22 years of age at Thousand Oaks, California. Unbelievable high school career. Then went on to Notre Dame. By now everybody's heard of the infamous Hummer limo story. He's got two brothers that played quarterback at the University of Tennessee. Clausen was a guy that put up some pretty good numbers at Notre Dame as well. That ball was almost picked off at the line. Clausen has had a quarterback coach, Mike Rucker, since he was 10 years of age, so it's in his blood.
Well, you know, this is something that he'll learn. The defensive lineman did a great job getting his hands up, but he'll learn how to fake, pump fake, and be able to get that defensive line down. But when you have a quarterback coach at that young of age, I think good things are going to happen.
There's no questioning his feel for the game. Doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the biggest guy, but a lot of people think he will make the transition to the pros very well. Nice strike right there as the pass is complete. And his number 15, Wallace Wright, who's a former Jet himself, a guy that is one of their stars on special teams.
Well, you know, it's a great route, just runs them off. Just not enough yards to get the first down to move the chains. You know, Clausen had a low snap, but stayed calm in the pocket, picked the ball up quickly, and fired it out. This is a great opportunity. Hey, let's get some points on the board and move on to the next play.
Yeah, it's tempting to go for it, but right now with that goose egg on the board, why not go for the guy who's usually automatic from this distance in John Casey. From 41, it's true. The 40-year-old kicker out of the University of Georgia gets it through the uprights, and the Panthers are on the board. It's now a 6-3 ball game. That is the newest addition to downtown Charlotte. The Duke Energy Center, which lights up after every Panthers score, and we finally do have a Panthers score to tell you about in the scoring drive, brought to you by Belt. 4 plays, 7 yards, $121, and much like every other score in this ball game, it comes off a turnover. And you'll take them any way you can get them tonight, Mike Rucker.
And that's it. You know, when you look at how these teams are scoring, it's a low-scoring ball game. So that means someone's doing good, and the defenses on both sides have held the offenses in check. 3 points is 3 points, and you'll take them anytime.
Taylor takes a knee. Jets will take it at the 20. Early on, third quarter. Jets in the lead, 6-3 here from Bank of America Stadium. Alongside Mike Rucker, Mike Morgan with you here. Carolina Panthers trailing the Jets by a score of 6-3 here in the third quarter of play. 3 field goals have accounted for all the points tonight, and all of them have come off a turnover. Both offenses struggling tonight, both defenses excelling, depends on how you want to look at it. Clemens in at quarterback for the Jets on 1st and 10. A lot of the backups now in for the Panthers defense. Back to the ground. And diving forward for a couple of yards. That's Joe McKnight. Bright spot in the first half of the Panthers, the defense, and that man, Everett Brown.
Everett Brown coming with 2 sacks. Here's his first one of the day. You got to love it when you get a sacks early on. And then he comes back with another one, just saying, you know what? I'm going to beat you running back. You're smaller than me. I'm going to get to the quarterback. When you get 2 sacks early on, you know that you're going to have a great day.
Mike, talk more about Everett Brown. When people say, I mean, the common reaction we get when we run into people that see Brown for the first time in person, wow, he's a defensive end. They can't believe at that size that he could play that position. How does he overcome the lack of size?
Well, starting the game off and getting 2 sacks. I mean, that'll get people's attention really quick. But he's put on a little bit of weight. He's kept his speed. He feels comfortable where he's at. This game, if you're a little undersized, you play with leverage, and that will make up for maybe 10, 15 pounds by playing with leverage.
On 3rd down, McKnight right near the marker. He needed the 30, and it'll depend on the spot. You know, there's a guy in Denver by the name of Elvis Dumerville. He's all 5'11",
yes.
and he's become one of the best pass rushers in all of pro football.
And it's all about leverage. A lot of times people think that you got to be this size or this height or whatever. No, do you have the tenacity to get to the quarterback, and can you use the leverage of the guy that you're going against and be relentless to get back there? That's what counts.
The Jets did get enough for the first down, so the drive continues. Clemens completes the pass at the 35. That's Lavernius Coles. He's been quiet. Well, it's hard to believe Lavernius Coles is now in his 11th year at Florida State. There was a time he was a go-to guy, but not on this team.
And that's what we talked about earlier, them being deep at the wide receiver position. I mean, you have, Coles coming in your second preseason game in the third quarter. I mean, they're deep at that position. So that's what I said, that the secondary of the Panthers are going to get a good look at some veterans out there.
Home run ball down the far side, and good coverage on the play by the Panthers. That was number 27, C.J. Wilson. Been around for a while, good backup. It was intended for David Clowney, and Wilson is down. He might have gotten the wind knocked out of him. This Panthers secondary is in pretty good shape, I would say. We haven't seen Sherrod Martin tonight. He's battling a groin injury, but he, along with Charles Godfrey, the safeties, you've got Marshall and Gamble, two very stingy cornerbacks, and you've got some depth with some of these younger guys like a Captain Munnerlyn and this guy.
And CJ, I mean, this secondary's got speed, and you can't teach speed. And you can see this is just a fly route, just straight. I'm going to outrun you and catch this ball. And he made a great play in knocking this out. He got the wind knocked out, but a great defensive play of knocking the ball down on this fly route.
And he's going to be okay. There's Ron Meeks, Mike Rucker, now in his second year as coordinator. How about Ron Meeks?
I think it's a second year that he's getting his guys in his system. Naturally he's getting his guys up front so far these first two preseason games after the quarterback. But when you look at the stats, they did pretty well last year, in the top half, and they've done well last week against the run. Had 6 sacks. They've done well today so far. They've got a pair of sacks. And they've done well on defense. So I think little by little he's starting to creep in and get his team together. I mean, they rank 9th in points allowed, and that's what it's all about. Are you putting points on the board? They can move the ball, but are they getting in the end zone?
I think this is going to be a great test for Ron Meeks, because going back to his days with working under Tony Dungy and his days in Tampa, Ron Meeks is a guy that's always had some great pass rushers to work with. And of course you lose Julius Peppers. The question for this team is going to be how much heat are they going to be able to put on the quarterbacks. I think that'll be interesting to watch throughout the year.
And it is. And like you said earlier, the question mark is on the defensive line and this young defense. And they've shown up. You're going to give up some plays like this, but more times than not, if you're able to get after that quarterback, some of those plays will be minimized.
20-yard pass play to Jeff Cumberland. Gives the Jets a first down at the 45 of Carolina. Quick pass in the flat. 5 yards for Lavernius Coles. Brian Witherspoon.
And that's a tough tackle out in space. It's just you and him with all that space. And that was a great tackle by the corner and Witherspoon to be able to hold that. And then you look at your defensive lineman, Greg Hardy. We've talked about him. He's sideline and sideline. He's in a little zone blitz. Got out there, but that's what you like to see in your defensive line. When they're getting hits on those receivers, those little bitty guys, that will take effect later on in the football game.
On second down. Not much doing right there. Going back to Biggs for a second, again, he had guys like Mathis and Dwight Freeney and Bob Sanders. It's going to be very interesting to see who's going to be the headliners on this defense this year. Again, you don't have a bunch of big names. We know John Beeson. We know what he's going to do. He's going to go to the Pro Bowl and pick up close to 200 tackles. He does that every year. But who are going to be the other guys that stand out for his defense?
It's going to be pressure by committee. They're going to rotate these guys in, Norwood and Hardy and Everett Brown and Johnson and Tyler. So it's going to be pressure by committee. They're going to be all kind of guys rotating in there, getting after the quarterback.
Jordan Pugh stuffing that run by Joe McKnight. That's a loss of a yard on the play.
Defensive line pushing the line of scrimmage back, stopped him, and then Pugh being able to come up there and doing what he's supposed to do at the safety spot. Play the pass first, run second. He was able to get up in there and stop that run.
Again, when you mention the name Jordan Pugh to John Fox, his eyes kind of light up. He's not a soft safety. He's a guy that likes to go out there and hit. No return here. Kenneth Moore was back as the punt rolls into the end zone. The Panthers will have it at the 20. 7:48 remaining, third quarter of play. Our score here from Bank of America Stadium. The Jets on top of the Panthers 6-3 as we take a look at our Bud Light scoreboard. Other games going on. A busy night of action. Baltimore blowing out Washington in the fourth quarter. Pittsburgh a winner over the Giants. We'll see the Steelers later on. KC and Tampa tied. Miami up on Jacksonville. Cleveland leading St. Louis. New Orleans blowing out Houston. Chicago up on Oakland. Dallas and San Diego tied at 7. Detroit leading the Broncos in the second quarter. On first down, it's Clausen. Finds Jarrett. And there's the man out of Southern Cal, Dwayne Jarrett. In his fourth year. 8 yards on the reception.
Great throw by the young quarterback. He's got hands in his face. They do drills like this all the time. He threaded through the needle, and that's a tough route. A little out route. Great catch by Dwayne Jarrett, who's done that over camp and is starting to have a good camp. So by the young pair, great job.
3 catches now for Dwayne Jarrett. 6'4", 220 pounds. Going to him again. That's going to be a pass interference on the Jets. Dwight Lowry trying to match up with him, and Jarrett's got about 6 inches on him.
Pass interference. Defense, number 26. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
Let's see what Pete Yannity has in store for us. Pete?
Well, we've seen a lot of Dwayne Jarrett just moments ago, and of course late in the first half. And here's a guy now, 4th year in the league. He was a high draft pick a few years ago, and he'll be the first to tell you he hasn't maybe delivered on expectations. I thought Jeff Davidson, the Panthers offensive coordinator, had an interesting point. He said Jarrett continues to show during the offseason and in preseason camp that there's still potential there. He's still very much in the game, if you will. That's the Panthers offensive staff stance on the big receiver out of Southern Cal.
Yeah, good point, Pete. Jarrett is a guy, gosh, Mike, you watch him get off the bus, and he looks like an all-world talent. Unfortunately, in 3 years, just 33 catches, just 1 touchdown in his career. At Southern Cal, he had 41 touchdowns, so we've yet to see the best out of this guy. I do think it's important to note he's still just 23 years of age, and I think he's matured a lot in the last year or so.
Absolutely, and he's got the size, he's got the tools, the big body to make things happen.
Pass complete to Goodson. He knows how to jitterbug, weaving his way over to the 45-yard line, a first down.
And we're seeing the little spark we've been wanting to see all night. We're moving the sticks. This is Goodson, just a little play-action fake out of the backfield. You can see the speed. You can see the speed right out the backfield. A little move to the side, picks up another 3-4 yards. This is the spark that we're looking for.
Vernon Golston on the tackle for the Jets. On first down, again, it's Goodson. Probes the right side, lowers the shoulder, and picks up some tough yards. Vernon Golston and Dwight Lowry on the stop after a 4-yard pickup.
When you look at Goodson compared to Jonathan Stewart or D'Angelo Williams, the molds are a little bit different here. He's a little bit more slender, a little bit quicker.
Right.
But you can see he can go up the middle. He can go off tackle, and that's what they like about him. He can still go inside with the plays that they have on tap.
Would it be safe to say he is the change of pace back for the Panthers?
Absolutely.
On second down, they feed him again. And this time, stuffed up the middle. Modest gain on the play. It'll set up a 3rd down and 3.
The thing with Goodson is that he's been nicked up in camp a little bit. But, talking to the staff, they'll have things ready for him where they'll get him on the field, get the ball in his hands during the season. But he just needs to stay healthy to be able to get that.
There's Jim Skipper on the sideline. Running backs coach for the Panthers. And last year Goodson battled some injuries. They'll be happy to see what he can do in a full season healthy. Remember last year in camp, two guys really stole the show, Captain Munnerlyn and Mike Goodson. Clausen throws high and still caught. Nice grab by Kenneth Moore. Boy, here's a guy that, again, not the biggest, not the fastest, but he does two things well. He runs routes well, and he does that. He catches the ball well.
And Coach said that he's probably one of the better route runners. You know, the ball's high, but he kept the ball in his hand sight and grabbed it and brought it in.
And it's all for not a false start penalty on the Panthers.
It was still a great catch.
It still was. That's
still
right.
A great catch.
When you look at it on film tomorrow, you can still be happy about the grab.
And mind you, he had a great one last week too, similar, where he keeps the ball with it. He uses his eyes, walks it in, and grabs it.
Moore in his third year out of Lake Forest. So the penalty backs it up. Now third down and 9. Clausen, quick throw over the middle and incomplete, intended for Moore. Ryan Jackson had good coverage, and the Panthers will punt the football. So a little bit of a spark on the drive. A couple of good passing plays. Goodson with a couple of runs, but eventually it stalls, as so many drives for both teams have tonight.
That's what you're looking for. Let's get a little bit of spark. That's good coming out of half. Penalties. You know, that penalty hurts you. Brings the sticks back. But you got a little bit of spark, to see if you can build on that in a little bit.
Fair catch for McKnight. Jets football when we return. We're back at It's a 6-3 ball game, a field goal marathon here thus far tonight at Bank of America Stadium. Both offenses struggling a bit, defenses dominating, and these are two teams, quite frankly, that are going to be led by defenses in all likelihood throughout the season. The Jets, of course, #1 defensively in the NFL last year. I mean, they just dominated people, had one of the best pass defenses in the history of the National Football League, allowing only 8 touchdown passes. Clemens in the end zone. Look out! Sack for Eric Moore. 5th-year man out of Florida State. Moore had a forced fumble against the Baltimore Ravens in Week 1.
Just a great job using your hands, staying alive. I know his eyes got big. Thought he was going to get a safety really close. Good sack by that defensive line. You've talked about these two head coaches. They're defensive mind head coaches. So it doesn't surprise me that the score is 6-3, because it stems from the defensive head coaches.
3rd sack of the night for the Carolina Panthers. This was the worst starting field position for either team. It's gotten worse for the Jets. And they will gladly just take a yard here. John Connor, the rookie fullback out of Kentucky.
Defensive wise, you just want to keep them backed up. This game's about playing field position. Keep them down there, make them punt, and then get good field position for your offense.
You saw Rex Ryan a moment ago. What a year he had. Talk about making a splash in his first year with the Jets. In more ways than one. Not just with wins, but nothing short of no shortage of personality for Rex Ryan. Clemens in trouble, brought down again. And it all depends on the spot. Just over the goal line, Nick Hayden drags him down to the turf, and he flirted with a safety.
We talked about pressure by committee. They're coming all over the place. Nick Hayden just pushing up the middle. He just stays pat, keeps pushing. Defensive ends push the quarterback up in the pocket. That's textbook. Ends push him up, tackle stay in the middle. You get the sack. Pressure by committee.
That's a Mike Rucker kind of play. Collapsing the pocket. Causing havoc. 4 sacks tonight for the Panthers.
Come on.
Oh boy. Kenneth Moore fumbles it after falling on his duff, getting up, returning it, then gets hammered at midfield. Ball jarred loose. Chauncey Washington with the hit, and the Jets recover, and that will be the 4th turnover of the night.
That's a tough pill to swallow right there. Your defense does a great job at holding, playing field position.
Ruling on the field is a fumble by the receiving team, recovered by New York. First down.
Stumbled a little bit, and that probably had him behind the 8-ball. Got up, made a great run, made some guys miss. He took a hit. That's an effort play. Sometimes that's going to happen. You take hits like that. Unfortunately, it's bad for the Panthers as they started getting momentum going.
Boy, that is 3 turnovers on special teams. John Fox talked about how the special teams have to improve this year. This is not what he had in mind.
That's definitely something that's on the back of his mind right now that he'll be talking about tomorrow when they watch film, is taking care of the football. You win the games by taking the ball away. You lose games by giving it away. Again, we look at the bright spot. It's still 6-3, and you've given the ball away a few times.
John Fox looking for something to smile about. He hasn't had a whole lot to smile about yet tonight. Panther defense again will be tested. More good field position for the Jets. And a strong run on the left side by Chauncey Washington, 2nd-year man out of Southern Cal. Jordan Pugh will get credit for another tackle. Pugh is a 6th-round draft pick out of Texas A&M. Again, the Panthers drafted 10 guys. And a lot of people think that the guys that they got late in the draft could be steals. Greg Hardy, we talked about him in the 6th round. We haven't mentioned Eric Norwood's name yet, but he's a 4th-rounder out of South Carolina that was a very productive player in the SEC. As they get the sticks out, and that tells you the story. First down. Here's a look at the draft class, and it's one to be excited about. Clausen, LaFell, Edwards, they go offense with the first 3, then Norwood and Hardy after that. David Geddes, a wideout. We haven't seen much of him tonight. Pugh, we've talked about. Pike, we might see later. Stanford and McLean, a couple of DBs trying to make the squad. But there are a lot of guys that the Panthers got on the 2nd and now the 3rd day. Remember, the draft has turned into a 3-day extravaganza that not only will make this team, but will contribute right away. On first down. Good 2nd effort, 3rd effort by Washington. Pugh there to stop him in his tracks, but not before a 6-yard pickup.
When you look at those draft picks, you attribute the late round jewels to your scouting department. Those are where it gets a little bit tougher to separate guys. This is where they're going to the smaller colleges and really digging deep into the dirt and finding those jewels. So you really got to tip your hat off to the scouting department in those late rounds when you find those Greg Hardys in the 6th round that can really produce for you.
And you could make a case the Panthers in the 1st round have been as consistently good as anybody in the NFL. I mean, they have not missed on a 1st-rounder in quite some time. And then if you complement that with some dark horse pickups in the latter rounds, and this is a team that's going to need to do that because they didn't make any big splashes in free agency. They're relying a lot on the draft. 7-yard pickup's going to bring us to the end of the 3rd quarter. The Jets are on the move. New York leading it 6-3. 4th quarter is coming your way from Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Stay with us. Our score, the Jets 6, the Panthers 3. The start of the 4th quarter here from Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Alongside Mike Rucker, Mike Morgan with you here. Hope you're doing well on this Saturday evening. Beautiful night for football. And again, as we said at the top, we're just like you. We are so happy that we can talk and watch football. Getting you ready for the regular season. If you're joining us late thus far, it has been a battle of defenses. And unfortunately for the Panthers, it's been a battle of turnovers, and Carolina has been on the losing end of that stick. As we get you set for the fourth quarter, let's send it down to the field. Pete Yanity is standing by.
We just saw Eric Norwood come flying in on that tackle, Mike, and as you noted, the rookie out of South Carolina, a guy that many think will make an impact. He's the only player on the Panthers roster listed as two positions, defensive end, linebacker. He did both in college as well. He has it on his resume. A year ago, he led his college team with 2 interceptions. A couple of years ago, he had run backs for touchdown of significant yards. It showed us how fast he is, so he is a guy indeed to watch.
And so is Eric Moore on that play. That's the 5th sack of the night for the Panthers. Eric Moore's got 2 of them. But right you are, Pete Yanity. Eric Norwood is a guy that certainly was a terrific player in the Southeastern Conference in South Carolina. Set all kinds of records for sacks and tackles for loss. And, you know, the only thing about him, Mike, is, you know, we've talked about this with some other players. He's that classic tweener. They don't know exactly where to play him, but they know one thing. They love what he brings to the table.
And they really love it on the special team side because of his speed. And, you know, we talked about the special teams earlier, but this will help bolster that speed and getting guys down the field in the special teams category.
Pass ball's incomplete on 3rd and long. Let's take a look at our Bank of America stats through 3 quarters of play. If you like defense, well, you've come to the right place. We've only seen 212 total yards of offense. We've seen 5 turnovers. And all the points in this game coming off the turnovers. And, of course, that number on the bottom, too, is a telling stat. The Jets have dominated time of possession. We haven't seen a whole lot of the Panthers on offense tonight. This is a 49-yard field goal attempt. They've only got one man. He's Nick Folk. And he is good from 49 yards, and the Jets now on top 9-3. Rex Ryan a happy camper. So too are the Jets. Jets leading at 9-3 after another field goal here in the 4th quarter of play. Our Belk scoring drive shows the Jets cashing in 8 plays, 18 yards off yet another turnover for the Panthers, who now have 4 in this game. Nick Folk true from 49 yards. And again, I know we keep saying this, but it hasn't become any less true, and that is this, Mike Rucker. This defense has kept this game in striking distance. The Panthers certainly have a chance to win it.
And that's what you're looking for from your defense. That's what you want them to do, is to either hold them to a field goal or take it away. They haven't let him in the end zone.
Goodson spinning, reversing, spinning again, going the wrong way, and a penalty flag on the field. He's doing his Jim Marshall routine there for a moment, and on top of everything else, after falling down at the 4, he's going to be backed up a couple more yards.
Yeah, the coaches will definitely talk to him like, listen, you got to get up the field. If you don't have anything, don't go backwards.
Illegal block in the back on the return team, number 98. That penalty is enforced half the distance to the goal line. The ball will be placed at the 2-yard line. First down.
Special teams have been a nightmare tonight.
If you're going to go backwards, you better make something happen. But you don't. The coaches teach it, hey, get upfield, get what you can get. If you don't get anything, that's fine, but we live to see another down. Now you kind of get bad field position and makes it a little bit tougher on the offense.
That play works a lot better in Tecmo Bowl. You know how to use the controls. It's a lot harder to do in the NFL. On first down, to the ground. Not much doing there for Mike Goodson.
You make a point. I mean, in college you might get away with that because everybody isn't as fast. In the pros, everybody is just as fast, and so you can't get away with some of those things as easy.
Yeah, you see a lot of plays like that late night, maybe a whack game, and guy reverses field 4 times, still gets the big touchdown. Right. It rarely happens in the NFL.
Very hard.
2nd down and 9. Clausen under center. On play action. And incomplete. That was intended for Rashawn Jackson. He is the backup fullback. Yeah, the fullback may be an overlooked position, but not here for the Panthers. If you're going to run this offense, you have to have good play by your fullbacks. And again, no more Brad Hoover. It's going to be the Tony Fiametta show. Rashawn Jackson, the backup.
And Brad Hoover lived off that little pass to the flat where he would turn around and he would bruise one of those little corners out there. They don't ask their fullbacks to catch a lot, but when they do, it needs to be a big play.
Now on 3rd and long. We've said that a lot tonight. To the ground game. Goodson has 10, has 15, and pushed out of bounds. A first down for the Panthers. Lance Laurie on the stop. 22 yards total for Mike Goodson.
Great run. I think he's wanting them coaches to kind of get off his back, and this is one way to do it. It's just a straight off tackle run and get upfield quick. See, he got upfield, used his speed, and then tries to deliver a little blow at the end. Great run by the running back, Goodson.
Can I use the S word, spark? Can we call it?
I would call that a spark.
Call
that a spark.
Well, that's the longest play tonight for either team, 22 yards. On first down. And that'll be one of the longest runs in the wrong direction. Josh Vaughn gets pushed back. He's a great story. Going to be tough for him to make the team, but Josh Vaughn out of Richmond spent most of last fall tutoring middle schoolers and driving elderly people to their doctor's appointments. He was trying to catch on anywhere. Played behind Tim Hightower at Richmond. Pretty good running back. Led the Spiders to the FCS title and now just trying to get on a roster. Pass broken up. That one might have been telegraphed a little bit. Read pretty well by Marquise Cole. As we survey the Bud Light scoreboard, Baltimore blowing out Washington. Pittsburgh over the Giants. We'll see them in the final preseason game in Heinz Field. Tampa Bay leading KC. Miami over Jacksonville. St. Louis Rams. Are they going to be at least improved this year? New Orleans, everybody's pick, or at least many people's pick to win the NFC. Dallas will be another one. Bobbled snap. And Clausen has to dive on it. That's been an issue in practice a number of times. Mike Rucker has been the snap exchange.
And that's strictly on the center. This is something that's practiced a lot. I know that this is the second time today that he's had that low snap. Earlier, he made a nice pass and got it, but he fell on it. They didn't turn the ball over. He fell on it, so we live to see another day.
Another punt by Baker, and it's another good one. Goodness. Inside the 25. Pretty good alley right side. This is McKnight to the 40. Look out. 30. Needs one more block. Cuts it upfield inside the 10 and down to the 8-yard line before Charlie Martin saves a touchdown. Now the Jets certainly outplaying the Panthers tonight on special teams. That is a 58-yard punt and a 67-yard return.
And I know he's fast, but somebody's got to get him down.
The Jets offense now inside the red zone as we take a look at the CPI Security Systems red zone offense for the Jets. 49 possessions. That's last year, of course. 24 touchdowns and 18 field goals. They were actually middle of the pack. I thought their numbers would have been better with the #1 rushing team in the NFL, but that was not one of their specialties. We'll see how they do here. Back to the ground and a fumble, and the Panthers have it. Washington was on the carry. He coughs it up, and the Panthers have it. And finally, the turnover starting to even up a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think the special teams will buy the defense donuts this week. The defense has played well, and they've bailed them out plenty of times in some turnovers. Great job of stripping the ball and getting the ball back to your offense.
It's Andre Neblett on the recovery. We'll see what the Panthers can do when we return. Football trailing at 9-3 here in the fourth quarter. Here's another look at the last fumble, the second turnover by the Jets.
Now, sometimes you might not get that clean hit, but get your hands around that ball and strip. Coaches do that drills all the time. This is a great job of stripping the ball, getting the ball back.
Got to give Morty Ivy credit for knocking that ball loose as the Panthers go back to the ground game.
I tell you what, if you look at that run, Goodson wanted to cut it back and bounce back out, but he's like, you know what, I learned from my mistake, and I'm just going to get what I can get and get upfield.
Loss of a yard, 2nd down and 11. We've seen some of Brandon LaFell, Dwayne Jarrett. They've each caught some balls tonight. Kenneth Moore has been a busy man. Some other receivers that are trying to show what they can do. We'll talk about them momentarily. Here's a little dump off pass. And being pummeled at the 10-yard line. Well shy of the marker. That's Goodson, a gain of 5. We haven't talked about Dexter Jackson, David Geddes, Trent Guy. Of course, Armani Edwards is going to play some wide out, but he's still got to learn the position. I think it's unfair to assume that he's ready to be a real impact player at wideout. You see him there, the 3rd-round draft pick out of Appalachian State. That's going to be a work in progress, but what they hope is that the finished product will look something like an Antoine Randall or a Josh Cribbs, but he's just not there yet.
And they have some other weapons. They have some other options. They can work him along, and then when he's ready, they'll get him in there.
There's a drop pass by Kenneth Moore.
The thing is, you got to get reps. You got to see it, and you got to take your lumps. I mean, things aren't always going to go the way you want as a player. You just got to learn from your mistakes and try to be a better football player the next time you hit the field.
McKnight back to receive another Jason Baker punt. Baker good again. McKnight from the 36. And dragged down to the 42-yard line. A couple of white jerseys there, including the tight end, Gary Barnidge. 9:02 remaining. Panthers trailing the 9:02 remaining. The Jets on top of the Panthers by a score of 9-3. There's a look at Matt Moore. We saw him in the first half. Not exactly an outing that he's going to cherish. Of course, again, in fairness to him and the entire Panthers offense, they had very poor field position to work with the entire night because of all the turnovers by the special teams. Moore can work on a few things, and the only thing I'll say about Moore is this for now, because people tend to react pretty heavily game by game. Everybody that we talk to, Mike, when they talk about Matt Moore, they say this is a position they're not worried about. They feel very confident in Matt Moore, and while there's been a lot of talk about Clausen and perhaps a quarterback battle, right now this is clearly Matt Moore's job.
And he's very comfortable in the pocket, and he's got that calmness to him, that confidence that you want to see. You got to understand, he doesn't have his Steve Smith out there. He doesn't have his double trouble, two-headed monster in the backfield. All of those things that you're not, on the field right now will bring success for you.
And one thing about playing the Jets, even in the preseason, they're going to send a ton of blitzes your way. And one of the things that John Fox and company pointed out that I think is key is at this point in the preseason, teams don't game plan one another. In other words, they're not going to put in a special package to match up with the Jets defense. So if they're going out and blitzing every play, you can do some things,
but
it a little tougher, it makes it a lot more difficult to really kind of experiment and work on some things. Pass incomplete. One of the 7th-round draft picks, R.J. Stanford, on the coverage. He's a rookie out of Utah.
We can't talk about enough just this defense and how it's coming on the field and put in a lot of different situations tonight, whether it's been from the special teams or the offense, and they responded in some 3-and-outs. And once again, they're going to give their offense a chance to get back on the field again.
Weatherford trying to match Baker punt for punt. And there have been plenty of those here tonight. 40-yard punt, no return. Well, here we go. The Panthers have the ball. Believe it or not, this is a one-possession game. There's a great crowd tonight. Fans jonesing for football. We all are this time of year. The Jets leading it 9-3. Good crowd here tonight, and hopefully a good crowd for week number 1, or I should say the first home game for the Panthers against the Tampa Bay Bucks. 1,700 tickets remaining. Panthers look to have good crowds all year. Carolina 8-8 last year. A lot of new faces that we've showcased for you tonight, and a lot of other guys that we'll see either later in this game or perhaps next week when we're with you again from Bank of America Stadium when the Panthers take on the Tennessee Titans. Vince Young and company. I think it's safe to say we're not going to see 3 special teams turnovers next week, and therefore the Panthers offense will have some more opportunities to get something going. Clausen trying to get Armani Edwards going. It's the kind of pass that Armani Edwards will probably see a lot of, because you know, Mike Rucker, he can make guys miss.
And that little play right there, that little quick out play, you see that a lot with Steve Smith and how you use the speed of that athlete. And that's the kind of speed and the quicks that Armani Edwards brings to the table. Squeeze the ball and then let him do the rest with his feet.
The only 2-time winner of the Walter Payton Award, the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy at the 1AA level. 3rd down and short. Lawson. There's Geddes. Geddes on the move over the 35 and down at the 36-yard line. Laurie stops him in his tracks, but David Geddes, the rookie out of Baylor, with the first down, 14 yards on the play.
You look at Jimmy Clausen just staying poised in the pocket and delivering a rocket out there. And then Getz makes a great catch with a big body, and then yards after the catch did a great job getting up the field and getting what he could get. That's the spark that you're looking for. You got to build on it right now.
Geddes involved in a very healthy, competitive battle for some of those last wide receiver spots. It's not going to be easy. LaFell, Armani Edwards. We haven't seen Dexter Jackson, Trent Guy, and that, of course, in addition to the regulars like Dwayne Jarrett, Steve Smith, and Kenneth Moore.
If you're a receiver and you're one-on-one with the corner out there, wide receivers expect themselves to win that battle. And he did a great job on that last play of winning that battle, that one-on-one with his big body.
Now he's a big guy, 6'3", and he caught a lot of attention after he ran a 4.39 at his pro day. Clausen flushed out and wisely throws it away. There was nobody open on that side of the field. There was nobody there on that side of the field. Another look at our Bud Light scoreboard. Couple of finals. The Ravens over the Redskins, and Pittsburgh defeating the Giants. Every other game still ongoing, as we've got another penalty flag on the field. Cleet Blackman.
Ineligible downfield. Offense, number 65. It's a 5-yard penalty. Replay, 2nd down.
That is Gary Williams, 2nd-year man out of the University of Kentucky.
The Jets choose to decline the penalty. 2nd down. 3rd down.
We'll get it.
Well, Cleet's been a busy man. He might be a little bit fatigued. So it is 3rd down and 6. Edwards in the slot. And Clausen in the gun. Jets bring the blitz. And Clausen has no chance. Came right up the middle. Matt Kroll. At the University of Iowa.
They just come right down the middle. The fullback, running back gets over there. I mean, this is something that you got to look at. You know, you might not be able to game plan against that, but you know, your left guard, you got to stick to your man and at least give yourself a chance.
Baker gets off another beauty inside the 20 and down to the 30-yard line. Tonight, our Belt Player Watch focuses on John Beeson. And 2 tackles, 1 for loss. He was all over the field in the first half. John Beeson already looks like he's in mid-season form.
Well, I'll tell you what, those 2 tackles, I really feel like they've been 20 tackles. He's been all over the field, whether it's shedding blockers in the tackling or knocking down passes. He's a very active guy in a new position, but you couldn't tell it by looking at the way he plays on the field.
You know, if there is one guy that this Panthers team really cannot afford to lose due to an injury, I have to say John Beeson. That to me would be crippling. They're already without Davis, but Beeson is so important to this team and this defense.
And really, that whole linebacking core, they're really thin. And I know that's something that the staff is really hoping that they can stay healthy at that position, because they're really thin once you get past those 3 starters out there.
John Beeson, 4th-year man out of Miami. He was actually recruited as a fullback and eventually worked his way into the linebacker position. And every year he's right up there. You've got Patrick Willis over there in San Francisco, and those 2 guys are always battling for the tackle crown. Both so good.
When you look at the tackling, last year as he led the team, no one was even close to his tackling numbers.
2nd down and long, a gain of a couple for Danny Woodhead. He's out of Chadron State. And from what I understand, he set all kinds of Division II records at Chadron State. I have no idea where Chadron State is, nor do I know the mascot, but that is something that I will find out tonight. With all the pent-up energy from this game, I will go ahead and survey the internet and look up Chadron State. But it's always a good story when those small school guys are able to make an NFL roster. 3rd down, passing complete. More good defense by the Panthers tonight. Allison can't come away with it.
That's good D. Get off the field. You just find a way to get off the field. 3 and out. That's our motto as a defense. You always go in, you want a 3 and out. And that's what they did. They've been doing that. And they've done a great job of it.
And now Brian Witherspoon will be back to receive the punt. Did I mention this is a 1-possession game? I think I've said that for a while, and it's still true.
It's a great opportunity to work your 4-minute drill.
Now, will it be Clausen? Will it be Cantwell? It's going to be Jimmy Clausen. I tell you what, if you could somehow put together a 10-12 play drive, milk the clock, get a touchdown, win the game, Jimmy Clausen makes some plays, and people will forget all the stuff that happened in the first
short-term memory.
Yes, and gladly so. We'll all forget that, and we'll just remember the positive drive that Jimmy Clausen and company put together to win the game.
One thing that I've noticed about these 2 quarterbacks that have played today, they've both been calm under pressure. I know the Jets have been blitzing, but they both have been calm in getting the ball out or handing the ball off, and they haven't panicked.
See the numbers on Clausen. Working out of the gun. Jets again on a blitz. Deep ball, incomplete. That's Dexter Jackson, speedster out of Appalachian State, former teammate of Armani Edwards. He's one of those guys battling for a roster spot.
Why not? You got a guy that's a burner. Lay it out there and see if he can get underneath it.
I did like some of what I saw out of Dwayne Jarrett and Brandon LaFell tonight. And again, I think that's going to be a very healthy battle for this number 2 starter. They're both going to make the team. But I don't think it's been resolved yet who's going to be opposite of Steve Smith. And this team runs mostly 2 wide sets. This is a 2-back offense, tight end, 2 wide outs. We're going to see more than that here on this drive, obviously, but the battle for number 2 is alive and well.
Well, one of the things LaFell has done is he's had to learn more than one position. Coach wants these guys to learn different positions so the defense can't key in on them. And that's tough as a rookie, but he's done a good job of it so far.
There's a catch for Dexter Jackson. So 2 different Mountaineers getting in the receiving column tonight.
Sometimes, the offense is in the 2-minute hurry-up mode, and sometimes that's when you're looking for a spark. You get into no-huddle situations. They did that, found a way to get the out route and get the first down and move the chains.
First down from the 34. That's Geddes at the bottom of your screen. Clausen, 7-step drop. Evades 1 tackler, another, and wisely throws it out of bounds. That's something that Clausen, I think, again, we talk about some things that are innate that you don't teach. His feel for pressure is something he's always been good at.
Yeah, he was calm. He sees the blitz. He steps up. He's still looking downfield. That's what I like about it. He's not looking to run. He's not looking to run all over the field and gain 100 yards. He kept his eyes downfield looking for something, bought himself enough time, and was smart enough to get rid of the ball. Not take a huge hit, not throw an interception, get rid of the ball, look for your second down.
That's a great point. He's done that a couple of times. That won't show up in the box score tomorrow, but that'll earn a lot of points from the coaches. Again, somehow slips a tackle and throws it away. I mean, they're going to have to check him for Crisco on the jersey.
Again, the poise of a young quarterback. He's a rookie. This is his second game. They're blitzing him. Their bullets are flying all over the place, and he's staying poised. Guy tried to get a hand. He shakes him off, stays downfield. Hey, we don't have anything. We're not going to force it. Throw the ball away.
Westerman thought he had a sack. No, sir. Third down. Could be 4-down territory. Especially if you can get some yards here. Clausen on the run. Clausen past the 40 and slides in safely near midfield. And that'll get an ovation from the crowd. 14-yard scamper.
Yeah, we just thought he's not going to rush 100 yards. He took off. Again, the poise, looking downfield and says, you know what, now I can run. I have the open field. Look at him, look down the field, pull the ball down, and get the first down with his feet.
He's used to doing that at Notre Dame. They had some skill players around him, but not very good offensive lines. Here's Edwards on another reception and another first down for the Panthers.
Doing it with his arm, doing it with his feet. Now, again, he just got through running, so now he buys himself some more time. This is a great job by his receivers of seeing him scrambling and moving downfield to get open. Amani Edwards did a great job.
15 yards on the pickup, 2-minute warning. We've got some offense to talk about here in Charlotte. Clausen, the man of the hour, trying to give the Panthers their lone touchdown of the night. An impressive drive. Clausen 9 of 18 thus far, 72 yards on this drive. He's completed a couple of nice passes. He's thrown the ball away, avoided a couple of near sacks, and he's also had a key run for 14 yards. So Jimmy Clausen giving the fans something to be excited about, and the coaching staff as well. This will be the 8th play of the drive, easily the best of the night for the Panthers. Plenty of time on the clock.
He's already told me potentially.
Jets send 3. Clausen flushed out. Clausen taps the ball, looks downfield, and again forced to throw it away. Nobody separating Vernon Golston, who's now a defensive end, a former top 10 pick of the Jets, who's really been a disappointment thus far.
You know, again, not forcing the issue. You know, so you have a great drive going. Sometimes the tendency is like, I want to get it now. We've done a great job. Let's punch it home. And you don't want to force it in there. And he's done a great job.
That's Jimmy Clausen and Rex Ryan. Mutual respect for one another there. I tell you, Rex Ryan, say what you will about the guy is entertaining. I mean, he's a good personality for the league. And obviously, they love him in New York right now. And a timeout called by the Panthers here to talk over matters. There's Big Rex. son of Buddy Ryan. He's not as controversial as Buddy. He's got a personality like Buddy. He's certainly outspoken like Buddy, but he doesn't get under the skin like Buddy Ryan did. Buddy had a unique knack of just absolutely irritating people.
Yeah, and he's done a great job last year with this football team and them backing their way into the playoffs. But when you come in as a head coach and to have the offense and defense in the position that they ended up last year was probably contributed to him.
4 finals from the Bud Light scoreboard. Ravens a winner. So too are the Steelers. Tampa Bay, a fellow NFC South team, and the St. Louis Rams defeating the Cleveland Browns. 2 teams that are hoping to get out of the doldrums this year. 2nd down and 10 from the 37-yard line. Clausen fires, intercepted. Right into the hands of Drew Coleman, who will race out of bounds inside Panther territory. Drew Coleman read that one all the way.
And I know that's one that he wished he could bring back. Just, you know, a bad throw. He didn't see that safety there, and just interception, goes the other way. Ends a hard drive that they did a great job of getting the ball down the field.
5th turnover of the night for the Panthers. 3 of them, of course, on special teams, and 2 picks. And like you said, that'll be a learning experience. Nobody plays pass defense better in the National Football League than the Jets. So now with 1:38, as we take a look at our Subway foot-long play of the game, got to go with the defense, Mike Rucker.
Yeah, Everett Brown had a great game today with sacks, corners coming up, making plays. The defensive line created a new line of scrimmage in the quarterback's pocket, in his face all day. Secondary did a great job of knocking the ball down. Overall, when you look at the front end of the defense and the defensive line, did a great job. Linebackers did a great job. Secondary did a great job. Now what you need is the offense to come around, to get that spark, to get that momentum that you want to carry into that first opening game with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
5 sacks for the defense, but the offense, for the most part, sputtering tonight. We talked about sustaining drives in the open, Mike, and really tonight, Carolina, with the exception of that last one, having trouble getting long drives.
And that's going to be something that they're going to have to look at. And I guarantee that's going to be the #1 thing on the list besides special teams, is how can we get the ball movement? Do we need to run more to just get some energy going, to get some ebb and flow? You know, the Jets came out the second half and they really started running the ball to try to get some momentum. That might be something where a coach says, hey, we're just going to run this ball, move the sticks, get some momentum going, and then start chucking it in the passing game. You got to find something.
Probably not going to see Steve Smith next week. Don't know if we're going to see Stewart either. D'Angelo Williams looked good. He always does. Matt Moore certainly had a lot of the cards stacked against him tonight. But again, I think next week we might see a little more of the passing game early and see what it can do under better circumstances.
Absolutely. And one of the great things is, like, you're not getting people nicked up right now. People will be sore, but nobody's hurt like they were this time last year, where guys were just falling off the bandwagon real quick. So it's great that you know, they're getting out of these games healthy.
Loss of 1 on the play. Our Pepsi players of the game, and this kind of speaks to what kind of ball game we've had tonight when we're talking about a kicker and a punter as our players of the game. I'll let you give the analysis on that one, Mike.
Well, it is a bright spot. You know, they are part of this team, and you know, they really helped and did a great job. Jason Baker and his 9 punts and averaging 50 yards. So you got to find a bright spot. That's one of them.
Oh, that was well done, Mike Rucker. I'm going to tell you what, you are a seasoned veteran. If you can go through those players of the game, you have earned some stripes, my friend. Hopefully next week we'll have somebody who will either throw a ball, run a ball, or catch a ball as our player of the game.
Well, I think you've seen sparks.
The Jets have taken their second timeout of the half. That'll be a 30-second timeout.
I think you've seen sparks. I think you've seen some nice runs. I think you've seen some nice passes. I think you've seen the quarterbacks calm under pressure. That last drive by Jimmy Clausen was a real spark, looked real good. So you just got to be consistent. That's what this game's about, is being consistent. We know you can do it one play, but can you do it 2 plays, 3 plays, 1 drive, 2 drives? That's what we're looking for, is consistency.
Next Saturday, we'll be back with you here at Bank of America Stadium, 8 o'clock. Tennessee will take a trip to Carolina. And Tennessee, boy, there was a time where the Titans were awfully salty on defense, but they've lost some of their key guys the last couple of years. So maybe a lesser test. Maybe the Panther offense will have some more time and better circumstances to get something going. Punt will bounce inside the 5. Oh, that's tough. There's still enough time to get something going, but it'll be a little bit more difficult now. 36 yards on the punt. So this second half belongs entirely to Jimmy Clausen. We thought we might see Hunter Cantwell tonight, but that's not going to be the case. Cantwell and Tony Pike battling for that number 3 quarterback spot. We obviously know Moore's going to be the number 1, and I think Clausen has pretty much established himself in a quick amount of time as the number 2 guy.
Yeah, without a doubt. Especially with that last drive, I think that really shows you the quality of a quarterback that he is and he can be.
So 34 seconds left, and the Panthers have no timeouts left. You got something you can draw up here, Michael?
Well, this is what you're looking for in this kind of situation. You're looking for your quarterback, how he controls the game. Can we use our 2-minute drill and get the out routes and manage the game? These are the kind of things that you're looking for. Yes, you didn't have the offensive firepower that you like today, but these are still teaching moments for a young quarterback and being able to show him what he can do, what he doesn't need to do. How do you manage the sidelines? How do you manage the routes and your check calls? We're still in teach mode.
They're actually reviewing this play, and that's what they're reviewing. They're reviewing number 18 for the Jets, Vic Hall, former Virginia Cavalier. And you can see his foot goes in the end zone. Now when he touches the ball, it looked like he was in the air when he touched the ball. So I'll be very curious to see what the explanation on this is. John Fox fighting to the bitter end. And obviously, if you're going to get a comeback here on what would have to be a touchdown drive, it'd be a heck of a lot easier to start this thing off from the 20-yard line as opposed to the 3. So that's what John Fox is hoping for. Clete Blackman, we've gotten to know him well.
After review, number 18 of the kicking team went into the end zone and did not reestablish in the field of play prior to touching the kick. Therefore, by rule, it is a touchback. The ball will be placed at the 20-yard line. Please put 40 seconds on the game clock.
There you go. You scored 2 points with that one. Field position and an extra 6 seconds.
That really helps. Different play calling right now from the 20 versus, inside the 5.
So plenty of breathing room for Clausen. Now what do you dial up? You need 80 yards in 40 seconds. Jets bringing the blitz. Clausen flushed out and has to hurry the throw. We've seen that a lot tonight. Again, you don't game plan for a whole lot of blitz packages in the preseason. John Fox talked to us about going with more max protect in this ball game, but in this spot, you've got a lot of backups in there. You're not necessarily prepared for all that.
Right. They're unique in what they do in their blitz package. They're going to show you all kind of funky, unconventional things, and sometimes that is in a preseason game hard to pick up. But your base blitz pickups should pick those things up, though.
On second down, They only send 3 this time, but Clausen is swallowed up at the 10. Somebody missed a block.
And as an offensive lineman, you got to take pride. I mean, they're only sending 3, and you have 5 guys blocking those 3. You got to be able to pick the guy up. You don't give up a sack then.
It's DeVito on the sack. Then Clausen has to clock the ball with 17 seconds left. And the task at hand gets more challenging after every play.
And I've seen crazier things happen in 17 seconds. I mean, you just never know. One missed tackle, and you just don't know. So you always play the game till it says 0-0.
This is one of those when Nebraska's playing like Pacific. You had one of those plays where you could just outpower the competition, run a little option at them. Clausen crushed on that play. And the Panthers can't stop the clock.
And now's the time in the game that you want to get rid of that ball. You don't want to take these hits, with 11 seconds in the game. Just go ahead and throw that ball away.
Clock stops on the change of possession. That was 4th down, and that's going to do it. So what otherwise was a good performance by Clausen marred a bit at the end by this last drive, in which the Panthers obviously behind the 8 ball. But overall, I would say some good points again for Jimmy Clausen. But the Panthers are going to fall to 0-2 in this preseason. And as you see the CPI Security Systems red zone stats for the defense. And I don't think they're going to have to worry about the Jets doing much here, as the Jets take a knee, and that'll do it. John Fox and Rex Ryan with the obligatory handshake at midfield. Jets improved to 1-1. The Panthers 0-2.